Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with the daily technical update. This is the 10th of April today, and today we'll have a quick look at Nvidia that actually tested a key support level yesterday. It tested this gap area here, 841, 822.79. If it does close below the latter, well, then we could see a swift sell-off down to around 770, 750 area where we have some support in this area. It will also be the target for this double top-like pattern here. We have these two bearish engulfing top and reversal pattern, so it's really playing well into what's going on at the moment. So keep an eye on what's going on next few days. For Nvidia to get back in its mojo, or at least have a go at the previous peaks here, well, it needs to trade back above 923.24 around that level. But it really needs to take out previous peaks to demolish the top and reversal pattern. In Asia, we had Hang Seng closing just a few dollars above the 17,135 resistance level. RSI closed back above 60, so we are now in a confirmed uptrend with potential up to around 18,173, where we have some fairly strong resistance, but the 200 moving average will of course also cause a little bit of resistance. But I do believe we will move higher in coming days. But let's see. Moving on to the US market, that really didn't do much yesterday. Well, there was a lot of intraday volatility, but we ended more or less at the same place. Only 0.14% higher. Still, 5,057 is a key level. There the inflation numbers coming out later today could cause some volatility in the market, but it really needs to take out 5,265 for establishing or resuming uptrend. Likewise on Nasdaq, still 17,800 a key support, 18,417 to the upside. European market, Eurostoxx 50, key support 49.76. That is the one to observe. If it does break below that, and actually if it does close below, well, then sell off down to around 4,900, possibly lower. Also, DAX a little bit higher this morning, but 17,900 key support is likely to be tested here in the next few days. We have the AEX pushing higher this morning. I haven't checked what it is, but it could be ASML, it could be other stocks. I haven't checked that. If it does close above this spike here at an 892.5, well, then it has resumed uptrend, and especially if we also get the RSI to close above this falling trend line. There will still be divergence, but it's still really holding on. 872 key support. CAC 40. In a downtrend, short term, could resume uptrend if it can close this little gap we did there and get above 8,170. But that's 8,190, not 70. That is the key levels to look out for. And we have SMI seems to be caught a little bit range bound between 11,496 and 11,550. 595, sorry. If it does close above, well, then it has closed this gap and it could push higher, but it has some top patterns in place. A break below the levels we saw here the past few days, then we're looking at 11,386. A little bit of calm before the storm. I mean, yeah, we did have a little bit spike up yesterday to touch the 61.8 retracement at a 108.83 on euro dollar. Still could resume downtrend. The RSI is showing a negative sentiment. We haven't broken above the cloud, so that it really needs to close above these levels at 109 and a change, 109 and a quarter. For establishing an uptrend, and with the moving averages more or less, I mean, there's a cluster here, so it's no surprise that we have a lot of stuff going on here, but doesn't really move anywhere. So could move today with the inflation numbers. Let's see about that. Then we have cable trying to push a little bit higher here. spiked higher yesterday. Can it actually get back above? And that is the key question, I think, today and in the coming days, or will it break back below here? So keep an eye on that. And also the RSI is still telling us we should see lower levels on cable, but it hasn't really materialized, and we can still see a correction up to 61.8, retracement at 127.58. So it's a little bit frustrating sometimes. And also here we have dollar yen that is just trading sideways, and someone could maybe do a straddle options strategy with 150.195 to the upside and 150.80.85 to the downside. That is the range that needs to break out of for a direction. The other yen pairs are actually a little bit more on the move. We have Euro-yen trading around the 786 retracement. Could test the previous peak very close to 165.35. If it does close above, well, then there's potential higher to 166.40, possibly up to 167, and maybe even higher. If it gets rejected here, well, we could see a little bit of correction down to 164, maybe dipping down a little bit further. We do have a negative, bearish divergence here on the RSI, so it is a little bit heavy to be honest. What is not heavy at the moment is actually also yen, that actually took out the previous peak yesterday, confirming its uptrend, almost reached 138.2, projections at 100.85. It has potential to much higher levels. There's no divergence on the RSI, meaning the RSI is supporting higher levels towards 101.14, possibly higher, possibly up to 101.60, maybe even. Again, could cause a lot of volatility later today. Sterling yen touched the 786 retracement and could be poised for a break of it and test of the previous peak here at 193.50. Bullish RSI, little bit divergence, but I think we will see sterling yen moving higher in coming days. Aussie dollar testing the 66.40 resistance. A close above, and if it also closes above the cloud, well, then there's potential up to 67.5, possibly higher. We have positive RSI, so it does tell us that we could see higher levels right there. We are skipping the dollar Swiss and Euro Swiss today because they haven't really moved much. So let's just jump directly to the dollar index and zoom in a little bit, because it also spiked a little bit lower, but it's still being supported by the 200 moving and 55 and 21 moving average. And we have the 100 head down here also turning around. So I still do believe that we will see dollar index pushing higher towards 104.50 and previous peak here is 104.84. It is not unlikely, however, that if it takes out the lows from yesterday, that it will spike down to the 61.8 retracement. So keep an eye on that, what's going on right there. Seems like gold is taking a breather at the moment. If we zoom in, we can see we could form a doji pattern here. And I also do think that we will see a bit of a correction here in coming days. We have had a couple of weeks of uptrend, really steep uptrend. A bit of a correction lower is not unlikely, and we can actually guesstimate if it does materialize. Well, possibly down to around 2300, maybe even 2282, which is the 38.2 retracement. The uptrend will still be kept intact, and also on the medium term, so there could be further upside potential to 2400. That's at least what it is in my if I'm looking a little bit further ahead. Silver, of course, will also stall a little bit, but it actually broke above the 28 level. Could move to 28.75. We are just below the 161.8 projection at 28.41. So not unlikely we will spike up to that, but we also ripe for a bit of a correction there. And if we should have an idea how much, if it occurs today, or is being initiated today, well, then we could have an idea that it could actually potentially move down to around maybe dipping down below 27, but it is still in an uptrend. Copper also looks a little bit stretched short term. As you can see here, we are trading hovering around 430. There's still room up to 447, but I think we will see a little bit of correction, maybe down to around 420 before the next upwards move. There's no divergence on the RSI, no imbalance, so it's actually supporting both on the daily and weekly chart that there is further upside potential. Let's jump to cocoa. I know a lot of you guys are probably looking at cocoa. It touched the previous peak here, very close to the previous peak here at 10,324. Uptrend is intact. We had a little bit of correction. There is potential up to around 11,000, maybe even a little bit higher. Still positive sentiment on the RSI, but there is divergence, so we are very stretched. But again, we are in a panic mode, so it could be we could still see higher levels on cocoa. And just very quickly on oil, well, uptake remains intact. Still potential up to around 93 and 70 level on Brent. Finally, the US 10-year yields that could really be moved today, currently testing the 435. It's not really a support line. It seems like it's more like a pivot line now. We have the low rising trend line giving some support. We have all these moving averages also giving some support. If it should totally demolish this bullish picture on US 10-year yields, it should close below 417. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day. Remember, CPI numbers out later. Happy trading.